So why is community such an essential part of our recovery journey? We need people in our life, and understanding the value of that can be a game changer in moving us from hopelessness to hope. And today we're going to talk about it. Well, welcome to the Celebrate Recovery official podcast. We acknowledge that your struggle is real, that you matter to God, and He has the power to help you recover from all hurts, habits, and hangups. Celebrate Recovery is a ministry based on the Beatitudes where Jesus helps us to face our hurts, our hangups, and our habits, and courageously face those broken relationships so that we can walk in freedom and healing. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. I'm the global field director with Celebrate Recovery, and so grateful to be here with you today. We're enjoying the traction and the feedback we're hearing from you. So thanks for the rating and sharing this so we can get the word out to other people. Today we're talking about community and the importance of having people around us. Do you know that we were not designed to face our recovery alone? And having community around us is an essential part of taking us from that hopelessness to hope. And so I've got a special guest with me today. A lot of you already know him. Maybe you're meeting him for the first time, but you'll be blessed nonetheless. But Jeff Stultz is our National Director of Broken Chains. It's CR in the wind, as we say. And just a great man. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me on this podcast today, brother.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, Rodney, and just excited to be a part of this and what God's doing through Celebrate Recovery, through you, and through the whole national team, man. I mean, it's just amazing opportunities.
Yeah, well, we love you, brother. I mean, when I think of Celebrate Recovery, you're one of those guys. That is Jeff. You just ooze Celebrate Recovery. We just love your heart, man, and I'm excited as we were talking about what was on your heart here lately. Community jumped out, and I just want to jump into the conversation for our listeners, and we'll have a great conversation. But Jeff, how has community impacted you in your recovery? Why don't we jump in with that thought?
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, Rodney, community is just such a vital part of recovery for me. It's a vital part of life for me. In fact, I remember years ago my sponsor telling me, an addict alone is in bad company, and The truth is, everybody alone is in bad company, because we were created for community. And what I found is early in life, I was a heavy kid that was picked on and scared, and I just didn't fit in anywhere until I started using drugs and drinking alcohol. And then suddenly I found this community of the cool kids where I did fit in. And so I gravitated towards that because that was a community where I felt like I fit in. And that would slowly lead me down a path for 38 years being plugged into unhealthy communities because I wanted to be a part of some community, and that was the only community where I felt like I fit in,
Wow.
So that, Celebrate Recovery is such an amazing place because it's a community where we feel like we can fit in. Look, I love church. Church is important, man. Church, I'm in church every week. But for many of us, church just doesn't feel like a place where we fit in, at least not right off.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking for a community, when we're out there in the world, when we're caught up, in our hurts, hangups, and habits, church just can sometimes not feel like the place where it's okay to go and fit in, right? Mm-hmm. But Celebrate Recovery, man. Celebrate Recovery opens the door where we it's a community of people that are, I always say we're just a bunch of screwed up people that love Jesus. And so, everybody fits in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What a cool picture, but a great reminder that not all of us feel safe to walk through the doors of a church. In fact, a lot of people may not walk through the doors of a church, but they may walk through the doors of Celebrate Recovery, which ultimately it's a wing of the church, and we're trying to help them as an on-ramp to the church, right? As being a part of that.
That's right. Absolutely. And one of the beautiful things about the Celebrate Recovery community, about the program, the ministry of Celebrate Recovery, and the process that it plugs us into is, I have to think about Proverbs 27:17 that says, so one man sharpens another. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. But when I think about that scripture, those are not always the relationships that I walk out the other side with a big smile on my face, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because when iron sharpens iron, man, there's got to be a striking, right? There's got to be a grinding. There's got to be some unpleasantness there. But Celebrate Recovery it's a healthy community, not just a community that makes you feel good. It's a healthy community where you can find that healing, where you can be sharpened, because it's a community where we are able to drop our masks, find people that we feel comfortable enough to speak into our lives in those ways, So every relation, I've got some great relationships with some guys that keep me so encouraged, but those are not always those sharpening relationships.
Right.
They're important, but that's what I love about Celebrate Recovery, because we have all those relationships in this community of people who know about the process, people that are further ahead than us because they've been sharpened. They've been where we're at. They've been through this process of sharpening and finding hope and healing in Jesus Christ through this process, and others that we need to lead along that way too.
Yeah.
So I just love that. I love, like I said, that the whole encouraging aspect is amazing. In fact, I think Celebrate Recovery gets that right, that they have an encourager coach as part of the core leadership team. Every church should have an encourager pastor.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need that badly, but we also need, these other relationships where people speak openly and honestly into our lives. And we need to allow that. So Celebrate Recovery has been a place, man, that has taught me how to take instruction and correction well. Look, a guy like me, man, I've been in motorcycle clubs my whole life. I did not take instruction well, or correction. I always thought I was the smartest guy in the room, but I found that with a lot of us in recovery, a lot of us thought we were the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Until we plugged into a place where we realized, other people have so much to add to our lives. It's amazing. In fact, I was not too long back in June. I guess it wasn't a while. Time flies by. I was at a Celebrate Recovery in Illinois in June, and I had to ride my motorcycle about 90 miles to another church. That night, it was after dark. It was strange roads. There was no interstate, and all I had to look at was the map. And so I looked at the map, and I saw the most direct route, but I'd never been down that road. Luckily, praise God, there was a guy there that I asked about the route, and he said, "Oh no, you don't want to go that way, man. Those roads are horrible. It'll be terrible on a motorcycle at night riding down through there." And helped me to get on the right road that I needed to go down to get there. And so that just really spoke to me, man. I mean, how many times in our lives do we think, we see a road, it looks good, but we've never been down it, so there's others that have been down that road that can help us to find the right road.
That's so good.
It's community is just such an important aspect in life,
Yeah, it makes me think, you're right. When we come into this recovery process, we don't know what we don't know, right? We've always done what we've always done, and it's gotten us into some messes. So just having people that, I had to kind of trust the people around me because I was incapable of making right choices. So I needed to trust the people around me to take the necessary steps and to take that road. Because you could have said, no, forget you. I'll take that right. I've got another road and it'll be fine.
That's right. I've done that before.
Yeah. So Jeff, I know a little bit I know a lot about your story. Some of our listeners may not know. Just give us a snapshot, because there's probably a place, when we talk about inviting community in, there's good reasons why we don't invite community in, right? Somewhere along the line, we learned that people will fail us. And I'm just kind of curious if you can give us kind of a snapshot. What did that look like that made that hard for you to invite healthy community in that took you in that wrong direction?
Well, Rodney, I never never in my life really plugged into church. I never really had a church community. And so the healthy communities, I always say I was born to be wild. I was born to be wild. That's true, man. God created me to be a wild man, not pent up, and so I was looking for excitement, man. I wanted excitement in my life, and so I was plugging into these communities because my perception, it wasn't that church had ever hurt me or that Christians had ever hurt me, and I know that happens from time to time out there. But my perception of church and God and Jesus and Christians were that they were just a bunch of boring do-gooders, and I didn't want that. That's not what I thought I wanted in my life. I wanted excitement,
Right.
And so I steered away from that community, and the only other community were these unhealthy communities. When I was, like I said, when I was a young teen, it was drugs and alcohol. As I got older, I joined a motorcycle club, and stayed plugged into that for years, and then became a homeless addict, and that's even a community, that I belong to. But what I've come to realize now is, man, I was born to be wild. God had an adventure waiting on me that was beyond my wildest imagination, Yeah. And it took going through what I went through to get there, and then allowing people, I think at some point in my early recovery, I began to realize that my sponsor was on my side. Even when he told me those hard things, that he wasn't trying to beat me down or beat me up, but that he was on my side.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've tried to keep in mind in my Christian walk and in my recovery journey, is that those I allow to speak into my life are on my side. I want them to be open and honest and to call me on my junk. And I want to have sponsees and accountability partners with me that I can do the same for them. I often try to let people know, please keep in mind, because look, I'll tell a sponsee quick, I don't need a lot more friends. I got a lot of friends. I'm trying to save your life here, so I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm on your side that I'm going to do that, because that's never the pleasant thing. It's not pleasant to bring correction or instruction to people, we only do that because we love them. And so when and getting back to your question, when I transitioned from thinking that people were out to get me, or people were out to belittle me or beat me down, because in those unhealthy communities, that's what they'll do. They'll keep you down. That the enemy will use them to beat you down, to hold you down, to push you down, and to keep you down.
Yeah.
But when you get plugged into a healthy community, like Celebrate Recovery, because look here, Rodney, I just got to drop back and punt real quick. A lot of people, and I don't want to be beating up church, because church is so very important.
No.
But a lot of people are in church, man, and they think they're in community, and they're really just in proximity.
Yeah.
Because they're just showing up. They're not in community. They may be in the community, but they're not in community. They're not in relationship with people. And that's what God means for us. That's what Jesus means for us, to be in community with others. And Celebrate Recovery shows the importance of that. Shows how just. How it's our life breath, man. Community. I meet Jesus in others around me.
Yeah. That's such an important point you made. That we talk about even just loneliness in general. It kind of comes to mind that we can be in a room full of people and still be extremely lonely, right?
Oh my gosh!
Just being around people isn't enough. But maybe you can help. Maybe we could pick at how do you define what community is at its very simplistic terms? If I'm wanting community, what does community look like through recovery that you've experienced over your years of recovery?
So as boy, that's a tough one, Rodney.
Well,
community. Plugging into the process of Celebrate Recovery, not just showing up,
right?
But plugging into the process, plugging into the share groups, plugging into a step study, finding those accountability partners and a sponsor, and to be a sponsor. That's community, man, because it really just means that we're doing life with people.
Right.
And we need to do life with people. We need to know people well enough that we do trust them, that they're on our side, that we do trust them to speak into our lives. Because look, if I've just met you, I used this in a sermon a few weeks ago. Look, I was recently in Portland, Oregon, and they knew I was a pastor. They knew I was a Celebrate Recovery leader. They knew I was sharing my testimony. I was a pretty good guy. But if I walked up to one of them and said, "Hey, let me borrow $10,000," the first thing they'd say is, "I don't know you like that,"
Yeah.
And so that's the thing when we're in community, man. We get to know each other like that,
Yeah.
and again, that's where we meet Jesus, man. When we plug into a community like Celebrate Recovery or our church communities, I mean, Celebrate Recovery is an amazing way, but church is very important, and their church community can be huge in our lives too.
Right.
But we have to be a part of it. We can't just be in proximity.
Yeah.
We have to be in community. We have to be in relationship with others.
That's so good.
It's so important.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, that you said share groups and step study. It's getting in there, being authentic, being vulnerable, sharing life on life. And it kind of the visual that comes to mind as you were talking is just, if I'm in the church, but I'm not a part of the church, I'm just kind of sitting in the grandstands. I was thinking of a stadium. It's like, you have those that sit in the stands and just watch the church on the field, but getting down on the field and being a part of that, running with each other, celebrating, holding each other when we get hurt, all those things that are a part of life, to be seen and to see others. It can be scary to let people into those places, right? Because we've learned just hide and protect, and to try something new is risky, but man, isn't it worth it?
It's so worth it, man. And I love that analogy with the sports field, the football field. And I'm not a big sports fan, so that resonates with me.
Yeah.
And I think about when I was young, when I first joined a motorcycle club, the motorcycle club life is is about being tough and and mean and all that. The truth is, when I look back, as I went through a step study, I began to look back at my life, and I was afraid. I was trying to act like I was so tough because I was the exact opposite of that. I was trying to hide from the reality of who I was, and I was afraid people would find out that I was afraid. And so that just spurred me on to more horrible behavior to try to hide who I really was. Where, once I plugged into this community of recovery, of Celebrate Recovery, man, I found out it's okay to be who I am because that's who God created me to be.
I love that.
And I could find my greatest joy, my greatest purpose in being the best Jeff that God created. I mean, he's not going to ask me, why would I more like Rodney, right? He's going to ask, why would I more like Jeff?
Yeah. Only you can be you, right?
That's right. That's what my wife said.
Yeah. Well, great. We're having a great conversation. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're speaking with Jeff Stultz, the National Director of Broken Chains, which is a part of Celebrate Recovery, the CR in the win, so to speak, and just having a great conversation around community. When we come back, we'll continue with Jeff and get some more insights. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey, are you looking for resources, Bibles, Celebrate Recovery devotionals, or other books like Road Recovery or Never Let Go by our national team of Celebrate Recovery? We have some incredible tools for you and lots of great apparel. If you want some tools to get the word out, we've got all kinds of goodies at celebraterecoverystore.com. Go check it out and get your goods, get your product, your resources to help you in your personal recovery, or maybe on a local level to help you grow individually and collectively. Go celebraterecoverystore.com and check it out today. Welcome back. We're talking with Jeff Stultz and having a great conversation around community. And Jeff, I just appreciate your heart in just talking about the value of that. I'd like to kind of turn the corner a little bit and just talk about maybe there's somebody that's listening right now and maybe they're one of those people that have experienced being dropped significantly by people around them. How would you encourage them, Jeff, based on what you've experienced? Just thinking about it, when I think of broken chains, and just the incredible joy that I see in that group of people when they come to conferences and they come to Summit, there's just a joy. I mean, you guys are hitting gas stations, and it's very evident that the joy of the Lord is in you. And so lots of fruit in there. But what if I am one of those people that just says, yeah, but you don't know how bad I've been hurt. I don't know if I can trust to take that step to enter into that community. What would you say to them, Jeff?
So I would say to them that you owe it to yourself to take that step into the community. And it is tough. It is scary. It can be difficult. But, you were just talking about broken chains. That's one, people say, Jeff, why is broken chains so successful? And, it's not because I thought of anything new. It's because I just followed God's plan of community. And so we've taken a bigger community and made a smaller community. And so with broken chains, we're somebody like that. I'd say, man, find some broken chains people near you, because broken chains we're committed to Celebrate Recovery. We're committed to opening our heart and our arms to broken, hurting people that may not feel like they're going to fit in where they go. But I always say we're the cool kids at the table that everybody. But see, we're all the cool kids. So
right.
We just don't know it. So everybody, broken chains, man, everybody's welcome at our table because we're all the cool kids, man. And we want to help you find that in your life. So we are on your side. Your Celebrate Recovery Forever family, we are on your side. But you have to take that risk because, without the risk, you'll never enjoy the benefit. I have to think about Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, where it says, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. So if you're out there and you're alone and you're trying to make this thing work for you, you can't do it. You can't do it alone. We're never going to do it alone. That's foreign in a country where, we're talking about pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps, right?
Yeah.
Two are better than one. I have to think, Rodney, I'm in the tile business. I've been a tile guy most of my adult life. And I always thought I always had a helper with me. And so my helper would sometimes go off to sweep a floor somewhere else or to keep themselves busy. And I'd say, no. I don't care if you're just standing here. I need you right here because when I need you, I need you.
Yeah.
I don't need to try to find you. And that's the thing, man. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. Because if either one of them falls, he's got someone to help lift him up.
Yeah.
Because we need each other so badly. So if you're out there, if you're listening to this and you say, man, I'm out here, I'm afraid to walk into a church. I've been hurt by church or I've been hurt by Christians. Look, I'm telling you, go to a Celebrate Recovery. Find some broken chains members. Let us wrap our arms around you. Let Jesus wrap his arms around you through us so that you can realize the adventure, you can realize the purpose, you can realize the healing and the hope that's available, that's waiting on you.
Yeah.
Man, because it's so good. It's so good. And we just don't know it until we've experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think as you were talking, Jeff, there's all these names kind of running through my brain. John Mann and Glenn Hurst, and just these guys that are so faithful in what they're doing and how much they encourage me when I interact with them. You do the same. Every time I talk to you, I feel encouraged walking away from you. But it reminds me, and I think it's a good encouragement, that some of the greatest pain that we walk through becomes our greatest tool to help the next person coming in the door behind us, right? Hallelujah. What it's like. Jeff, you were homeless for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to to go to the food bank and just try to get a jar of peanut butter and a loaf of bread and be denied because I didn't have an ID card.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to crawl in the crawl space under somebody's house to sleep and to have some warm and to get out of the rain, So I have experienced those things, and I've experienced violence. I've been shot and I've been stabbed and I've been beat half to death. I've been through those doors as well, and to find the comfort in the healing and the purpose, man, that God created me for through this process. Because I would have never believed it. I would have never believed it had I not got to the end of myself.
Yeah.
And that's and maybe you're out there listening. Maybe you're not to the end of yourself yet, but we hope that, I always pray. Well, let me just say this, and I'll say it on the actual podcast, but I've got a stepson that's in active addiction, and I pray regularly that God let happen to him what needs to happen to him to get his attention. Whatever it takes to get his attention, because that's what it was for me. Rodney, I got out of jail in 2007. I was arrested over 30 times in 2006.
Wow.
And I got out of jail in 2007, and I thought, man, I don't want to go back to jail. So I didn't quit getting high because I wanted to quit getting high. I quit getting high because I wanted to quit going to jail. And that was the only way I knew to quit going to jail.
Yeah.
But I remember, man, somebody invited me to a Celebrate Recovery, and I told them Jesus has delivered me from my addiction. I don't need a recovery program, But they convinced me I'd be able to make some friends there because, see, I was lonely because the only community I had was the drug community, and I didn't know anybody. Yeah. So they brought me into a Celebrate Recovery, and I was terrified. And I know people hear it a lot in Celebrate Recovery testimonies, but man, it's the truth. I was terrified to walk into that Celebrate Recovery that night. I'll never forget. It was a rainy night. I sat in my truck until the people that invited me showed up to walk in with me. But once I went inside, those people, they loved on me. They encouraged me. They told me I was valuable, man. And here's the truth, and this is going to when I left Celebrate Recovery the first night, I went by the crack house to tell them people how good it was. Now, I wouldn't suggest that, and I'd never do that again. I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good thing. But I was so excited. I was so blown away by the people that I came in contact with at Celebrate Recovery on the very first night.
Wow.
And then I can remember every week, I had a church that loved me, and I went there, and it was important, and I stayed plugged in there. But I never felt love like I felt at Celebrate Recovery. And I can just remember all week thinking about getting to Celebrate Recovery on Friday night. Man, that was the highlight of my week. And the minute I walked up, there was a guy standing out front. His name was Tommy Duncan. And Tommy made me feel so good. I just couldn't wait every week to get there and just see his face and hear him encourage me.
Wow.
No one had ever done that for me in my whole life.
That's so good. And Jeff, you said something that's really important, and I don't want to just go by that. You're talking about sitting in your truck, and that's a lot of people's story, scared to go in. But you said something important, that you waited on the people that invited you. And I feel compelled to maybe speak to, sometimes we can get comfortable in our we call them holy huddles, right? We've got our circle. These are our recovery buddies, and the thought of going and reaching out for someone else. I know you guys, have the recovery rags and all that stuff. I love you to talk about that, but just what do you say to those people that have gotten comfortable with just, this is my meeting now. I've got my buddies. I'm doing well. How do you encourage them to keep reaching out for one more person so that they can expand?
Reaching out for one more, absolutely. Those newcomers that come through that door, man, you got to know that it's all about them. God has brought them to us. God has entrusted us with them. I mean, Scripture says, anybody that messes around one of God's little ones might as well put a millstone around his neck, cast himself in the middle of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, God has trusted us with his hurting people. And so I try to encourage my leaders at Celebrate Recovery, when you see a newcomer of the same sex, of course, come in the door, then stay with them all night.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, stay with them all night.
Yeah.
Take them to the dinner, take them to the fellowship, help them find the share group, help them, realize everything that's taken place there, man. It's so important because it can be terrifying. Look, I robbed drug dealers at gunpoint.
Yeah.
But I was scared to death to walk into that church, right? Because I knew that I was gonna have to be me in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's scary for a lot of us,
Yeah.
But man, once we experience it and it's okay, oh my gosh, the gloves are off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so yes, and that is so important. And I try to highlight that when I share my testimony. I sat in my truck and waited. Their names were Jim and Deb. I'll never forget them. And I haven't seen them in 14 years, but they're a huge part of my recovery story, because if they had not shown up that night to walk me in the door, I don't know that I ever would have went in.
Wow. Yeah. And what I love about what Broken Chains, and I know you have the ministry of motorcycle missionary, motorcyclemissionary.com. You guys don't just wait on people to come to you. You go out, and when you see people in the gas stations and on the side of the road or wherever, restaurants and, convenience stores, you guys are some of the best at reaching for those people that haven't walked through the door. And
absolutely,
I love how you guys do that. And kind of a Captain Obvious question, but why do you do that, Jeff? Why do you guys make that intentional?
Well, because it's just so important, man. I always say I'm just a guy God pulled out of a ditch, and I can't shut up about it. The truth is, if you can shut up about it, you might still be in the ditch. You see? Yeah. So that's the thing, man. God, Scripture tells us, we always go back to Scripture. Scripture tells us He has been forgiven much, loves much. And so that's the thing. I'm so blown away by what God has done in my life that I got to share it with other people, man, because I want it to happen for them. Yeah. And that's what Broken Chains do. That's what we're doing. We're so excited about what Jesus has done in our life through this process of Celebrate Recovery. We want people to know. There are so many people out there. Over 100,000 died from drug overdose in the last year. It's like every 4 minutes.
That's a lot. Yep.
130 people a day take their own lives. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's what a place of hopelessness those people had to be in. And more often than not, it's somebody that feels alone.
Yeah.
They're not part of the community, or they're part of an unhealthy community. And they don't know what it's like to be encouraged. They don't know, Webster defines hopelessness as having no expectation of good or success. What a terrible place to be. See, so when I see somebody at a gas station and I say, hey man, is there something I could pray for you about? Man, the light comes on so many times. The light comes on. So maybe there is an expectation of good or success.
Yeah.
Maybe hope is real. Maybe hope is available. Maybe hope has a name, and that's Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So we want people to know, and so that's what Broken Chains has been so amazing that we're of just a bunch of Celebrate Recovery people that have experienced this freedom and this hope and this healing.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to have it, man. I want everybody to have it.
That's so good. Well, you do it well, man, and the Broken Chains, CR in the Wind. I mean, you guys do a remarkable job and set the example for all of us, and it's such a good, healthy challenge for all of us. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to let you know, if you've not heard Jeff Stultz's story, he has written a book, and it's called Hope Dealer. And you can pick up a copy of his book at motorcyclemissionary.com, and I encourage you to do that. It will inspire you and bring hope to you, or maybe there's a loved one that might want to read that you've been praying for, that might give them that extra little nudge that if God can do this in Jeff's life, He can do that in mine or yours as well. So, Jeff, thanks so much for just your heart. Thank you for your ministry. Thank you for how you help us so much with Celebrate Recovery Global Ministry, and being our national director of Broken Chains. And you're just an inspiration. I just love you to death, brother.
I love you too, Rodney. Thanks for having me, bro.
You bet. Well, I just want to say thank you to all those that joined us today. Let me just remind you, if you are struggling, you too, please hear this in your heart. You too can find healing and freedom from your hurts, hangups, and habits. Maybe you're looking for that group that Jeff's talking about, Celebrate Recovery. Go to celebraterecovery.com/groups and find a group today. Don't delay anymore. This is your time. This is a time in your hopelessness. Take that step toward community. And if you're on the other side of that, maybe it's time to invite someone to Celebrate Recovery. Take that chance and invite someone so that they can be blessed. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Until next time, God bless you.